The clock on the wall ticked with an eerie precision, each second dragging on as the quiet of the night crept in. And then I heard it, soft at first, like a breath against my ear. The sound of footsteps behind me. I was alone, or so I thought. I should have never answered that call. It was just another night shift at the hospital, the kind of shift that drags on forever, where time feels like it stands still. I worked in the emergency room, the last place anyone wants to be when they're healthy, but it was my job. And I had learned to get used to the chaos, the beeping monitors, the sound of gurneys rolling down the hall, and the low murmur of frantic voices. By the time my shift ended at 3 a.m., I was beyond exhausted. The night had been unusually quiet, which was a blessing after the usual madness. I slipped my coat on, threw my bag over my shoulder, and headed to the parking lot. The cold air hit me as I stepped outside, and for a second it felt like the world had been swallowed by darkness. There was no one around, no other cars in the lot, no lights on in the building, just silence. I unlocked my car, slid inside, and started the engine. As I pulled out of the lot, the headlights cut through the empty streets, lighting up the mist that hung low to the ground. I drove home, tired but relieved. The thought of a warm bed made everything feel just a little bit better. But then, just as I turned onto the street where I lived, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen, unknown number. I almost ignored it, but then a chill ran down my spine. Something about that number felt wrong, almost familiar. I answered it, my voice a little unsteady. Hello? There was only silence for a moment, and then I heard it, a faint whisper, a voice I recognized but couldn't place. You're not safe. My heart dropped. The voice didn't sound like anyone I knew. It was raspy, like someone who hadn't spoken in years, their throat raw with years of dust and decay. Who is this? I demanded, my voice trembling. There was a pause before the voice came back, low and mocking. I see you across the street. I slammed on the brakes, my heart thumping in my chest. The street was deserted, the glow of my headlights illuminating the empty road, but my gut twisted. I had the distinct feeling I wasn't alone. I turned my head, scanning the darkness outside. Nothing. But that creeping sense of being watched intensified, creeping up my spine. I quickly hung up the phone and locked the doors, then pulled into my driveway. The night seemed so still, so unnaturally quiet. But as I reached for my front door, I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I glanced over my shoulder and froze. There, in the shadows at the edge of my yard, was a figure, tall, shrouded in darkness, standing motionless. My breath caught in my throat. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what I was seeing, but there was no denying it. Someone was standing there, watching me. I turned quickly, fumbling for my keys as I rushed inside, locking the door behind me. I ran to the window and peeked through the blinds. The figure was gone. I tried to shake off the panic, convincing myself it was just my mind playing tricks. But as I turned away from the window, I heard it, a tap, tap, tap on the glass. My blood turned cold. I crept back to the window and peered through the blinds. Nothing. No one was there. I felt like I was losing my mind, but the knocking continued, a rhythmic, relentless sound. I had to look. Slowly, I opened the window, inch by inch, until the cold air brushed my face. That's when I saw it. A face. Pale, gaunt, with hollow eyes that stared straight into mine. The face pressed against the glass, its breath fogging up the window. It was a face I'd never seen before, but it was so close. Too close. I recoiled in horror, stumbling back, my heart racing. I slammed the window shut and locked it, but the knocking didn't stop. It was getting louder, faster. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again, vibrating in my pocket. Hesitantly, I pulled it out. There was a new message. I'm inside. The floor beneath me seemed to tilt, my head spinning. I ran to the door, checking every lock, every window, but nothing felt safe. Then, I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps. Soft, slow, deliberate steps moving across my living room. I backed away, my breath shallow. The footsteps stopped, and then there was a whisper right next to me. I've been here the whole time. I spun around, my heart in my throat, but there was no one there. I checked the windows again, no sign of anyone outside. The figure, the face, it had all vanished. The next morning, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still there in the house with me. I checked every room, looked under the bed, inside the closets. Nothing but the messages, the calls. They didn't stop. Each one more chilling than the last. Each one more intimate, more invasive. The worst part? Every time I look in the mirror, I swear I can see the shadow of someone standing just behind me. Have you ever had an encounter like this? Something that made you question if you were really alone? If you want to hear more chilling true horror stories that will keep you up at night, be sure to check out my next video. You won't want to miss it.